Have you ever struggled to share data between fragments in your Android app? It can be a real headache, right? If that sounds familiar, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into how to use the new ViewModel architecture component to simplify communication between fragments. I totally get it. Trying to make fragments communicate often feels like solving a puzzle with missing pieces. You're not alone in this frustration. Many developers face the same challenge when building their apps. Here's the specific question we're addressing today. One user asked, how can I share data between fragments using the new ViewModel component? They were excited about the potential but confused about how to implement it effectively. Sound familiar? Let's explore this together. So, what's the issue here? Traditionally, fragments communicate through their host activity, which can lead to complex interfaces and tight coupling. The new ViewModel allows fragments to share data without needing to directly reference each other, making your code cleaner and more maintainable. And stick around. At the end of this video, I'll share a pro tip that will help you streamline your fragment communication even further. To begin sharing data between fragments using the ViewModel, the user should first create a shared ViewModel class. This class will hold the data that needs to be shared. Next, the user should implement the master fragment. In this fragment, the user will set up a click listener that calls the select method on the shared ViewModel when an item is selected. Now the user should implement the detail fragment. This fragment will observe the selected item from the shared ViewModel and update the UI accordingly. Finally, to navigate from the master fragment to the detail fragment, the user can use the fragment manager to replace the current fragment. This can be done without needing an interface. Fun fact, the ViewModel component was introduced to help developers manage UI-related data in a lifecycle-conscious way. It's like having a personal assistant for your app's data. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach shared by a user involves using the ViewModel to hold a listener that triggers the activity method. This method is similar to the traditional way of communication, but moves the listener to the ViewModel instead of the fragment. In the step master activity, the user retrieves the ViewModel and sets it as a listener. Then in the fragment, they simply call the select method on the ViewModel to trigger the listener. That's it for that answer. Let's take a look at another one. An alternative approach for sharing data between fragments using ViewModel is suggested for Kotlin users. First, add the ViewModel and live data libraries to your Gradle file. Then, inside your fragment, you can call your ViewModel like this. Use the activity property to safely access the activity context and initialize your ViewModel. This method is a good practice as it helps avoid crashes due to null pointer exceptions. Additionally, it's noted that the activity property is equivalent to the getActivity method, which is marked as nullable in the Android SDK. Let's take a moment to review another user's answer. An alternative approach shared by a user involves directly setting values from the detail fragment to the master fragment using the shared ViewModel. They suggest using the command model.selected.setValue item to achieve this. Here's the pro tip I promised. Always use the activity scope for your ViewModel when sharing data between fragments. This ensures that both fragments are using the same instance, making data sharing seamless. And there you have it. You can now share data between fragments using the new ViewModel component. Remember, clean code leads to fewer headaches. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more tips and tricks.